Okay, in this video, I want to share you an end-to-end explanation of how you can build a Looker Studio dashboard for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick and dive right into how you can do this. The benefits are pretty obvious. You get to really get to, understand how to build a Looker Studio dashboard and then, have that skill set so that you can use it yourself. We're also going to be integrating it with Google Analytics 4, so you get some experience there as well. So first and foremost, you need to have Google Analytics set up on your site so it is tracking and collecting data. It takes about 24 hours from when you set it up for the analytics to flow into this interface here. I think it's really simple to do so. There's a lot of tutorials on it. You basically just create a property and then you add that tracking code to your site in the head, just like how they tell you to. It really takes like 5 minutes or less, honestly. It's like several lines of code too, so it's not that complicated. Now, once that's added, you see all sorts of data flowing through into this interface. It's actually really useful. You can get all sorts of insights. That said, as you can see in this interface, it's kind of complicated. So let me show you. If I were to look at the last 28 days, we can see this spike here. And to just to investigate this spike, you need to know a lot about this interface. I needed to add a second column with session source to tie that to the homepage page source where this spike occurred on. And then from there, I had to narrow down the time frame to around when it happened to, confirm that like what happened during this time. And that's where I find out that it's coming from bot traffic from leadsgo.io. So, that's a lot of steps for someone who's kind of new to this. And as you can see, there's all sorts of other reports on the left sidebar here, engagement time, all this stuff. Especially for a stakeholder, this is kind of confusing. It's actually, it's a lot in here. Unlike its predecessor, Google Analytics 3, otherwise known as Universal Analytics, this one is just a bit too complicated for maybe a stakeholder leadership team to really understand. So we're going to bring this into what's called a dashboard. We're going to use Looker Studio, which is also owned by Google. And we're going to use this for many reasons. One, it's also owned by Google, so it integrates really well with GA4. Two, it's free. And then three, it's really easy to use. The learning curve here is much easier than some of the big competitors like Power BI. And then also, the biggest thing is that you can present to a leadership team just the charts you want in the way you want them so that it's digestible. That way, there's no confusion or weirdness or just having them go in here themselves and trying to figure it out. So that's kind of the explanation on how and why we use it. So let's go ahead and hop in here. So, by the way, the first step here of adding the tracking code to the site, if you're working for a client or something, it's probably done for you already. So just keep that in mind. Now, there's actually a bunch of templates you can use here to kind of get going. I think this is an easy way to start. However, as you get more advanced, you'll find that it's sometimes better to start from scratch yourself, or make a lot of aesthetic edits and updates to the design of the template so that you make it your own. And then I get to a place where I'm more so copying previous versions I've done versus use the template because, there's so much more flexibility you can do based off how you want it designed. So with that being said, let's go ahead and choose a simple one. Let's go ahead and choose, I like the Google Analytics ones because we're doing Google Analytics. And some of these are a bit too niche. This is literally just showing Google Ads. This is e-commerce. This is a behavior section, which is, typically not what leadership wants. So that's also why I highly recommend getting some real experience with clients, because then you can really get a sense for what leadership typically asks for. And it's more so on the lines of, did traffic go up? Did key conversions go up? You may have to set those up with custom tracking. And then did engagement go up? And then did all those things lead to more revenue or more leads or some indicator of revenue on the site? So here's the default report. We're going to go ahead and click edit and share. Actually, let's go ahead and click use my own data. I'm going to click authorize. We're going to click my personal Gmail. And then here's the one property I have, which is my personal website. And then if you've never done this before, this is a one-time thing, but you're going to have to sign up. So Dream Life Lab is going to be the company name, and then we're just going to hit continue. If you don't have a company name, just just make up one. And it looks like here it's just asking you if you want to get updates. I'm going to say no to as many as I can, and then hit continue because I don't really need marketing emails. And I'm going to add it to the report. And then from there, it's already added to all the steps of the report. I'm going to click edit and share to make a copy that I can use myself. And then from here, this is kind of done for you. So now we actually want to actually edit it and do some of the real work. So I'm going to hit copy report. And now I have a version that I have edit access to. And since this template is kind of done for you, they make it super dead easy. But to really develop the skills, you actually want to get into edit mode, which we're in now. And that's where you can start to do a lot of things. You can start to move around your report. You can add charts, delete charts, all sorts of stuff. So, this done for you model, it's inserted everything for you. It's already done. You can kind of look around and see the charts. But frankly, in the real world, like these are not the numbers or metrics that leadership cares about. These are not the type of charts. It needs a lot of reconfiguring. So here, when you make a copy, unfortunately, it breaks it. So we can go into resource, manage added data source, and then we have to re-add our data source in here. So I'm going to click add Google Analytics and then select. Okay, so now it's added, but unfortunately, everything's already broke because it didn't know ahead of time. So now, this is kind of tedious, but this is the type of stuff you're going to have to do in a real project. You're going to go click on each of these charts and then click data source here and then select the right data source. So that's how we're going to have to recoup a lot of these metrics. Now, we're not just recouping them, we're going to start to change them around. So I like to start with the goals and then work to the metrics. For me, I think some of these just aren't going to be that useful. So for starters, I want to name this something good. So let's do Dream Life Lab KPI report. KPI stands for Key Performance Indicators. And then you can add a text box here. So they already added one, but for demo purposes, I will add a subhead here. And we'll make that just a little subhead for this header here. And we'll say, this page gives high-level overview insights at a glance, period. And then that's kind of like the subhead for this one. I could click and drag, move it up here. I can kind of change the size of that. All right. And then we have here active users, new user percentage. Now, personally, I rarely ever hear stakeholders asking for new users or any of these. Typically, what's the biggest, most common uh, measure of traffic is sessions. So you have to also touch up on your knowledge of what all these metrics means. Search it up on Google. They're all defined on in various articles online. So that's the first thing. Um, I might also do organic here. So um, to do that, you actually have to click session and then add a filter here. So what this means is, you can filter existing metrics but with a filter. So I'm going to name this filter organic only. And what that means is, let's see here, channel grouping. There's various different channels that a user can come from, and organic is one of those channels. Organic means that they came from a source that did not come from advertising. So Google Analytics does a pretty decent job of detecting if they came from advertising. If it came from like a Facebook ad or Google ad, they can detect that. So I'm going to say contains organic and then hit save. Actually, I think it may be capital O. And then I want to click this pencil here to rename it so that it has the proper name, organic sessions. So this one here tells me the total amount of sessions that came to the site. And this one tells me the total amount that came from an organic non-paid source. And that also excludes like anything like social media or email marketing. So even though I don't pay for advertising right now on the site, it's still going to be lower than the total traffic because I do a bit of email marketing and social media as well. So, there's other ways that people can come to the site. So you can kind of see like what matters here. I'm going to get rid of this 1% engaged. That's kind of page views per user. That's more of a, I'll keep it for now. And then engagement time, that's amount of seconds, minutes and seconds that people stay on the site. So I'll change this to new users rather than new user percentage because that's, we typically don't see people say new users. So we have these scorecards. They tell us the before and after. We have the time range at the top here, which we can set to whatever we want. I can set it to last 28 days, and all the numbers will update. Let me also add some charts here. So we have this one here, but there's so many charts you can add here that are pretty nifty. So one thing I like is the tree map. This is one that isn't used often, but when people see this, they're actually quite excited about it because it tells you at a glance what's going on in a unique way, and it's not a table or scorecard or line chart. That's like 99% of what people use, and only those. So, it's good to kind of spruce it up with different types of charts in here, add some variety. So, what I'm going to do is actually do channel grouping. So they have this thing called session channel group. Um, Session default channel group is the right one. And it will literally tell you where these people came from at a glance. So here we have organic search, referral, direct, email, and then I could clearly tell, okay, most of my traffic is coming from organic search like Google search, Bing. So let me continue to work on SEO to improve that. It's going to vary by site. Some people get more of the traffic from social media. So this is a great way at a glance to tell where it's coming from. Now you may notice that these words are cut off. You can actually go to style here, and there's all sorts of things you can do to change the colors, change the styling. And what I'm looking for is something that will help me wrap the text on some of these so we can actually see the whole word. So sometimes I don't even know off the top of my head. I have to do a little bit of digging, But what I do know is like I know it's in this section somewhere. So even me having played in this tool for so long, I know there's like a part uh for what it is, and it should let you wrap the text somewhere. So, I can't find it right now, but it's usually like a checkbox that says wrap text, and it will allow us to kind of see the full phrase here. So sometimes, it's hidden in a weird section, or sometimes some charts don't have it. In addition to that, I can also change the font here. So if I wanted to make it a bit more fun, I could do, one of these fonts. I could also change the font size. It's kind of small, so I have to squint, so I could move the font up. I will say though, you want to keep the font consistent across all of these. So since these are already using, whatever the default is, I may want to keep it to the default for the rest of these. Otherwise, you don't want that inconsistency throughout the whole thing. So, with some of these existing, I think they are using whatever the default is under select. So for now, let me just switch it back to that one. And then what I can do is just change the color here, the gradient color for this tree map. I recommend sticking to your company or your client's brand colors. In this case, um, my brand tends to be kind of a nice light blue. So various shades of light blue. So I'll do like a teal for the border there. And then for the actual tree map, you can have a max color value, a min color value, a mid color value. Now there's tutorials on every single one of these charts. So I'm not going to go into detail on every single one of the charts. You could play around with them yourself. You could find specific tutorials on each of the charts on YouTube. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and choose green. I like a nice, yeah, a dark bluish green here. And yeah, you have a nice gradient going from dark to light. And you can even play with it so that the min color slowly fades into a dark orange or whatever you want. I'm going to have it fade into a dark green. So there we go. Um, so we have the total traffic, and if it's increased or decreasing by period, we have a traffic breakdown here. And then we can also go a bit deeper, and then people love tables, but it's a bit overused, but for a reason. The tables just give you a very not only visual but specific breakdown. Like you could get the actual numbers here of the same tree map, and then I can right click and hit duplicate. There's all sorts of options. If you click right click, you can cut, copy, paste, duplicate, delete, uh, bring forward or behind other charts. Or you can even export a specific chart as a CSV or something. So with the second table here, instead of session default channel grouping, I'm going to go ahead and find out the exact pages. So I'm going to select page. There's a bunch of different page dimensions. So once again, you got to brush up on your lingo here. But for me, I like page title because then you get the actual title of the page. And then I like the page path. Landing page actually only refers to if people landed on that page, like if it was the first page on their site. Personally, I care more about like, what site do people return to or go to on the site. So I like page path, but a lot of people, a lot of leadership sometimes prefer landing page because they're like, okay, we got most of their traffic from organic search. So what page did they come to first from organic search? So we know which page is ranking. So you can also move these little lines by each column to make each column bigger or smaller. And then we also want to change the metric from active users, which is a default, to total users for all of these charts. Reason being, and this goes back to really touching up on your definitions here, is that active users has a very specific definition where, a user basically has to be active on the site. It's like, I can't remember the exact definition, but it's like they have to spend a certain amount of time on the site. And frankly, a lot of leadership, they just want to know, okay, total people on the site. I don't care if they only spent like 3 seconds on the site. Like, tell me, like, give me just like the total count. So they don't want it filtered. So that's why I like total users myself personally. So now that we look through this, what we can see here is that homepage was the biggest one for sure. And then after that, we have some of these articles I wrote. A book summary of Can't Hurt Me. I'm Rich but lonely. Free 21 billionaire secrets habits to success PDF. And then you'll notice like it's only at 7. You can actually click and drag to show more. I like to keep it to 10 or 25. You can actually set the amount. It's currently set to, I think it's just infinite pagination, but you could also set it to top 150, whatever you want. So I'm going to go set it to, I'm going to click and drag and bring it down to, let's say 30, because I think 30 is a good amount. And then I typically don't like it when people, you got to consider the user experience. So let me actually make it 25 because this table is already pretty long. I don't want them to have to be cut off when they look at it. I want them to be able to just see everything at a glance and see what articles are most popular. Now, you can also do one where you can add a filter here and say, let me just do organic only. And you'll notice that the filter that was previously created, boom, you can use it again. And so once you create a filter, you can reuse it. Now, as you add more and more charts in here, one beginner mistake is you just stuff it with charts. You don't want to stuff it with charts. You just want the most impactful stuff in here. More is not always better. I've found that like a lot of beginners end up confusing whoever they're presenting to because they add up too much stuff in here and they don't add headers. So I like to add little headers to each section here. Let me go ahead and up the font size so that they know what they're just talking about. Now, another beginner mistake is they'll just name it like landing pages by total users. That's like a very common thing that's done. Quit with the technical jargon. That's just going to make it much more confusing for, maybe leaders who are less technical savvy. So I actually like to name it by business questions. So the business question here is, what are the most popular pages people came to from organic search? So I can widen it so it all fits on one line. I can narrow the height so that the text box isn't too cumbersome. And then they have this red line here to show you where the center is while you're clicking and dragging to help you identify how to align it. I think it's really neat. You could do that for all of these here. And then you would want to add something like that for each of these sections. So we're going to do the same for this one up here. Summary and trends kind of speak for themselves. By the way, these are also pre-built text boxes and then borders as well. Rectangle, shapes. You can add little shapes here, rectangle, circle. So it's really neat, pretty convenient. And so what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this header. That way I don't have to recreate the font sizing and everything. And then I'm going to add one more up here, and I'm just going to say for this one, it's going to be what marketing channels did visitors come from? There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and center align this. And another small but useful thing is, you want to space it properly. On a beginner mistake is they clutter their dashboard so much. You don't need to do that. You can if you keep increasing the width of this if you want. And then we're going to go ahead and there's a lot of white space at the bottom here. So I'm going to hit pages and current page settings to reduce the width of this. So I'm going to make this 3000 instead. And you'll notice there's sometimes a bit of wonkiness here where it won't let you, like it's glitching out. It won't let me change the height. So unfortunately, sometimes certain things do glitch out. And so, a little bit of an issue with Locus Studio, no issue. All you got to do is sometimes refresh and try again. Current page settings, style. And then, oh, that's a placeholder. So I can just enter it in and it'll go over it. And then boom, that's the new height. It's still a little bit big. So let's make it 2700. And that's a little small. Let me do 2800. And okay, maybe 2700 is still good. There we go. And that's our first page. I clicked view to show, preview what a user would see here. And the one change I would make is I would get rid of this thing here. This is if you wanted to swap out all these charts with another data source. We're only using one data source, so I'm going to click the delete button on my keyboard and get rid of that keyboard and get rid of that. And then I gotta go up here and just change the name of it because that doesn't look nice either. Dream Life Lab GA report. GA4 report. Press enter, and now we've renamed it. So you want to do something similar for each of these pages. Frankly, I don't think we need that many pages. Once again, less is more. I have to keep repeating that because oftentimes, once you get to like an intermediate level with something like this, the temptation is just to add too many pages. And then it just serves to confuse leadership rather than help them. You don't need 12 pages in here, and you don't need to stuff each page with like 50 different charts. It actually makes the job more confusing for leadership. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out some of these pages that I know are not of interest or typically used. And then I'm actually going to rename the first page. So I'm going to rename it, click the 3-dot icon, click rename. And then in here, I'm going to name this one KPI overview page. I press enter, and that saves the name. And then here's the second page. So I actually personally like starting from scratch sometimes. So this one doesn't have much in there. That's fine. We're going to go ahead and revive it by updating it to the proper data source per chart. It's a bit tedious, but I don't know if there's I think you can mass select, but it won't let you edit them individually. So it'll only let you like move them individually. So that's why you have to do it one at a time. It's a bit tedious, but it's worth it. And then we're gonna look at this template and then see if it's something that's actually useful, or we're gonna have to reconfigure it. So this one, I would say it's all right. It's giving you traffic here, and it's giving you events here. So events consist of all the different interactions it tracks from scroll to click, first visit, and then landing pages as well. So it's kind of a confusing report. I would actually go ahead and do some updates to it. So with this one, I might rename this one engagement report. We already have a KPI report with all the metrics, including traffic. So the next one would be an engagement report. Now you'll notice that this changed for both pages, which means what you could do here is have what's called a page, a report level uh text box, where if you change this, it ripples through for all the pages. I actually don't want that in this case, so we're going to go ahead and update that so that it's not like that. And so um there's usually a setting somewhere here that will allow us to change it. It's usually on the right here, and it's something you check and you say make report level. I don't see it in this case, so you can right click it and then just change it back, make page level. So now these are both page level. I made this one page level. It deleted the one on the other page. So I'm going to copy and then paste this one here. Edit, paste. And for this one, I'm going to change this back to KPI report. And then we're going to go here. And now it's set here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and update. Let's see. I'm going to update this one because we already have a traffic one on the right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make this more of an engagement report. So I'm going to click delete on this. And I'm going to start to add my own stuff into this section. So once again, there is a bit of strategy here. So you need to know what you need to add. So I personally love scorecards here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a scorecard. And then one of those scorecards is going to be an engagement metric. So I'm going to click on metrics here. Engage sessions is a big one. Go ahead and look up the definition on engaged sessions on your own. It's on the web. It's like a certain thing. It's like they have to be on a site for a certain amount of time. They have to complete at least 2 events, or they have to do one key event type of action. So I'm going to go ahead and select this to compare with the previous period so that we have this nice, green or red arrow beneath it. And that's the amount of engaged sessions we had. So I'm going to duplicate this and just add a few scorecards here that show engagement metrics. We're trying to see engagements here on the site. So let's see, what else can we do? Engagement rate is another one. It's the percentage of sessions that are engaged. I've said this many times already, but you need to touch up on the lingo of what uh, all these metrics and definitions mean, so that you can actually use them properly. And then if you have real clients, they will tell you and they'll give you a sense of this. So sometimes you have to right click, click the pencil icon, and then change the metric so that it is the right one. Right now it might be set to something else. No, that's correct. And then duration, we gotta set that to seconds, make sure the metrics aren't off there. And yeah, that's correct. So that's the total amount of total time users spent on the site if you were to add up all of their sessions. That one's kind of a little less useful than I prefer. So we're going to actually create what's called a calculated metric here. This is a bit more advanced, but we could click on this metric dropdown and select add field and create our custom metric here. So I'm going to go ahead and type in user engagement, and then we're going to divide that by the total users, because we don't want just everyone. We want the, average. So I'm going to name this what it is, which is average engagement time. Make sure the metric is set to duration, because by default, it's going to be set to something else. It's going to be set to just a number. And then click apply. And then boom, we have a much more useful metric here, which is 1 minute and 2 seconds is the average engagement time on the site. And I think that is enough engagement metrics. And keep in mind, less is more. I've made a mistake. Many others have made the mistake of just stuffing these with charts, and it just becomes unbearable. Now, with this one, I actually think it's too little. I know there's a lot more metrics that are events, but they're only showing like 8. Let me see if I can change the pagination to show more. No, okay, so this is kind of a basic site. So this is my old site. It's just using the out-of-the-box GA4 configuration. Once you really start to get advanced, you're going to be setting up a lot of custom metrics, which leads to a lot more events in here. So for example, if I wanted to, let's say, track a button click on my website, dreamlifelab.com, or let's say I wanted to track all these navigation menu clicks, that's something you could set up with Google Tag Manager and pass through as a custom event. And that's how the amount of events in here can balloon. So I haven't set that up yet on my personal site, but you can set up any type of click tracking. Like if someone clicks on this link and goes to this article, that's something you could set up tracking for. So it can get very granular if you wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag, select all of these, and then move it up just slightly so there's not too much space, and then center align it. And then we have landing pages. And yeah, I think that's it. Because this is a very basic site, there's only so much you can do here. For more robust, complicated sites, I would flesh out this engagement section. And then we may even have conversion sections where we set up custom tracking for when people purchase stuff on the site. So let's say if my site is selling anything, it's not, other than, you know, a couple affiliate links here and there. But if it was selling like t-shirts, let's say I had a section where I could sell t-shirts for my personal brand, I could track when people added to the cart and purchased. That would warrant a new page, which you can add here. You could add, hit this plus sign and add a new page, or even a new section or header or divider if you wanted to. A divider is literally just like that. And then, you know, a section could just be like that if you just wanted to label it. Um, Not that useful, but I'm going to delete these. You can add a new page and then, you know, add one for conversion metrics. So since we don't have many conversions in here, no need to do that. And you can get so creative with this because there's so many charts you can add. And there's so many data sources. You don't have to use Google Analytics. You could bring in Google Sheets. You could bring in Google Ads. You could bring in YouTube Analytics in here. Um, so that's probably another video, bringing in YouTube Analytics. But you know, if you really wanted to, you could start to bring in other metrics in here. So, you know, I would authorize this. Of course, you'd have to have a YouTube account set up. Um, and then from here, you can actually connect that. Click add to report, continue. Now it's added as a data source. And then I could add a chart here for YouTube videos by watch time. Isn't that neat? So these are all my YouTube videos, and you can see which one has the most watch time, which happens to be celebrities speak on being rich but not happy. You could also, in real time, update the chart type in here. So let's say I wanted to do a pie chart instead. You could do the same thing with by pie chart. So that's pretty neat in here. And then you can also, if you wanted to see it over time, there's, like I said, there's so many different ways you can do this. I could duplicate this and then make it a 100% stacked area chart to see over time is certain videos making more ground. And it looks like at one point, celebrity speaking was taking up the market share, but over time it's shifted so that this new one in orange, men of action, that started to take in some. So there's so many different charts in here. You can even add a geography chart in here, which will show you, okay, where are people coming from on the site? And you could change, there's different location features. So here, I think there's probably different, you could go by country code if you wanted to. And then you can also do by total watch time, or you can choose a different metric, average watch time, average view percentage. And then this one's kind of large, so you can actually zoom in a bit and set it to how it is. So there's so many things you could do in Looker Studio. Once you get the fundamentals down, you could play with it so much and kind of learn on your own. So I've kind of walked you through a ton of the fundamentals on how you can use this tool. And from there, you can kind of start to teach yourself with this tool. You can get really granular. You can, see if certain things work or if they break. In this case, I tried to change it to a different heat map type of geo chart. That didn't work. And you can kind of learn like, okay, why is it breaking? What's going on here? And just go from there. Um, So there's so many things that you can play with in here, and hopefully you found this video valuable. Once it's ready for sharing, you can actually go here and download the report, get a report link, schedule it to be emailed on a recurring basis, or this is what I like to do, literally type in their email and then they have viewer, you can set it to just viewer access to that yourself. That way they can't edit it. They'll just see this view mode where all they could do is play with any date, any controls you add. And in this case, it's literally just the date range control where you can change the date range, give it a few seconds, and then it'll update all the numbers for that date range. You can even set it to this entire year if you wanted it to, and just kind of see all of that data ripple through immediately. And then you can kind of see any trends. And then you can see as the time ranges got bigger, uh, the 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 most popular content changed a bit uh, to different videos. And then even here we have like different things, the metrics kind of changed, and you could kind of see, oh wow, I had 11,000 engaged sessions over this year, which is pretty crazy. I mean, that's no small number. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked this type of content, please go ahead and leave a like, comment, subscribe. Check out my free email newsletter down below for additional content like this, exclusive content like this that I only share with my email subscribers. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.